What is it like being a Jamaican in Cuba? Hi, I'm Xavier Murphy, the founder of Jamaicans.com. And today in Jamaicans to the World, I talk to Yanike Hanson, a Jamaican living in Cuba. Hi, Yanike. How are you?
Hi Xavier, I'm good.
All right. So, my first question is which part of Jamaica are you from?
I was born in St. Catherine's, Spanish Town Hospital, actually, and grew up in Portmore. I went to Immaculate Conception High School.
Great, great. Another Portmorian like myself. I lived in Edgewater and representing Immaculate. That's just great. All right. My next question is this one. How did you get to Cuba?
That's a big question actually, with not a direct answer possible. Moving from Portmore and then to St. Andrew and then to Havana. Well, actually, it wasn't even straight to Havana. I first came to live in Matanzas. I came to study. But from I was a little girl, I really loved Spanish. And in high school, I always wanted to go to a place, at least to visit a place, a country where they speak Spanish. So one evening at church, somebody came to preach and he was just preaching. I'm sure the sermon was great. But all I remember is that at one point he said, yes, and when I was in Cuba, blah, 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 blah. So after the service, I said, you said you went to Cuba? And he said, yes, you want to come? And that was the story of that. I started coming to Cuba every year since 2009. No, 2005 actually. Yeah, almost every year since then. And
Wow.
then I came finally in 2009 to study theology. And that's where I met my husband at seminary. And so my husband is Cuban, and here we are living in Havana now. We have a 2-year-old son.
Oh, wow. That is quite a story. So first it was intrigue, and then it became a visit, and then it became it became love.
Yes, indeed. Love it was.
All right. So my next question is this one. Tell us a little bit about the people of Cuba. What are they like? What are Cubans like? I know, I live in the South Florida region, so I'm around Cubans. But tell us about the Cubans and the island and what they're like.
Well, I think the most distinctive trait I would say is solidarity. And that's actually one of the things I like the most about Cuban people, that warmth, that solidarity, that willingness to share. And yeah, very loud people like myself. So we fit in quite well in that regard. But of course, we can't even generalize, because you have some quiet Cubans as well and people who are probably selfish as well, but at least in my experience, the majority have been quite helpful, quite kind, quite warm.
So when they hear that you are from Jamaica, what is the typical reaction when they hear that you're from Jamaica?
Well, I will hear, oh, Bob Marley, or Bolt, or singing, there's a brown girl in the ring, tra la 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 la. And it was just so odd to me because I'm like, okay, so where would he have heard that? Because, I mean, for me, it was just so strange.
Wow.
And then he started saying, Boney M, Boney M. And I must admit that I had no clue who Boney M were until I found out afterwards that it's a really exotic Jamaican group. And when I actually saw them all dressed up and seeing Brown Girl in the Ring, I'm like, what? But I must say that that Cuban pastor was the first person to sing Brown Girl in the Ring to me when I got here. And that was really funny.
I think, in previous videos, there's a Jamaican song in Russia. So this is very interesting to hear that Brown Girl in the Ring is a song there.
Definitely.
so so I'm going to move on to my next question, and that is food. What is the Cuban cuisine and the Cuban food like? And if there was one thing you'd recommend for someone visiting Cuba to try, what would that be?
Well, I must say, first of all, that Cuban cuisine isn't hot on pepper. So if you're a pepper lover, this is probably not going to be your greatest experience. But pork is really good. And the pork, they do the pig on the skillet. So like really in the countryside, and they would have this pig, the roasting, turning it around and around on the skillet until it's done. And eating the what do you call it again? The pork skin. I've heard my parents talk about eating pork skin, but I've never actually had it until I got here. Chicharrones, they say. So that's another big thing. And typical rice and peas. I like that. I like that. I basically eat to live and not necessarily live to eat. But I do love ice cream. I can't say that I've found any ice cream here that really hit the spot for me though.
So I would say
But if
this.
you like pork, yes, you could go for pork.
All right. So I'll say this. When I visited Cuba, I realized that ice cream was very big there. I visited Havana, and there was an ice cream store or ice cream place there, and the line, and it seemed like just everyone was into ice cream.
Oh well, Copelia, that's the main ice cream parlor in Havana. Yeah, and you really do have long lines. At least not now during COVID times, of course, but generally in summertime you'd have long lines of people waiting. And when there's more than one flavor ice cream, it's a big deal, you know. And of course, the children and adults like myself really enjoy that.
So my next question is this one in terms of the language. How long did it take you to learn Spanish? I know me and my hard head, I did 2 years of Spanish and didn't pick up, regret not learning any. But such is life. I know a little bit to get by, see is probably the most. But how long did it take you to, I don't know if I want to say master the language, but be very comfortable with Spanish?
Well, actually, I did Spanish in high school, right, up to CXC level, and I really loved Spanish. Some of my classmates weren't really too hot on Spanish, but I really loved it, almost like my life depended on it. So I mean, to each his own, or to each her own, as the case may be. And so I had a good foundation in Spanish before I came. Of course, my first Bible study, I can remember hearing everybody else talking and cut the Spanish, like how my family would say. And I remember I was thinking some wonderful things, but when I started to speak, it was like I was saying ABCs in Spanish. It was a bit disappointing and frustrating, but I learned to just talk until I can talk. So with time, I was able to become more fluent. In fact, I was working, well, not working, yeah, collaborating as translator for a group of friends, group of missionaries who would come to Cuba every year since 2005. So translating, even though it wasn't perfect, and not being afraid to make mistakes, I went on to get better, to continue improving over time. I still make some mistakes, but I've been told that I'm decently fluent. So yeah, I can't really put a time frame on it as such, but from 2005, I've been helping people to understand Spanish and English, vice versa.
All right. All right. And I know they say
And
Cuban
it is
Spanish a little
true.
different.
Cuban Spanish is different from other countries, at least the accent and some of the words and some of their phrases. Just like there's some words you can say in Jamaican language that if you try to say it in standard English, it just wouldn't be the same. So Cuban Spanish is Cuban language, yes. And I do dream in Spanish sometimes, it depends. So I think it's a part of me now. Spanish language is part of me.
So I know there are Jamaicans that went to Cuba. Have you met any of the
Yes, in
Jamaicans
fact,
there?
I've met quite a few Jamaican descendants here, and there's actually a group and a Caribbean group as well of Caribbean descendants, and uh, and it has been nice to meet persons whose parents or whose foreparents are Jamaican, so that was good.
Do they have events?
Well, I participated in one event, but I'm not really sure if they have regular events.
Okay. Okay, I
The
see. I
embassy,
see.
for example, has Jamaican Independence Day celebrations, or at least they used to have Jamaican Independence Day celebrations for quite a few years.
All right. So my next question is, have you found any customs that are interesting?
Well, in terms of Cuban customs, my favorite one is hugs and kisses.
I guess COVID changed it, may have changed it a little bit.
Yes, it's true that COVID-19 has really been messing up everything, basically, I would say. Well, I shouldn't even say everything. We learn, we adapt. So now it's just the fist bump or greeting with the elbow or just a nod or a smile, although the smile is hidden behind the mask. We smile with our eyes now. Uh, but with the WhatsApp groups, we can do the blow the kisses anyway, for those who have access to WhatsApp, that is.
How big is the town you live in?
We're living in Havana. I'm not even sure of the population. I'm not really good with statistics, but it's one of the more densely populated cities. The overall population of Cuba is about 11 million. I started first living in Matanzas while I was at seminary. And then after seminary, we moved to Havana. And that's where we are now.
Yeah, I visited Havana years ago. Visited the wall there, and saw the cars. Very interesting city. Very colorful.
That was really one of the things that stood out to me as well. Those old cars. Back in the day, I'm sure they must have been fabulous. There's some
Oh
cars
yes.
that are really well maintained now as well. Some of those 1950s cars, and once in a while you see a ladder. Yeah, so those cars that you generally don't see anywhere else anymore. But yeah, you can find them here in Cuba.
So my next question is: do you get any Jamaican food there, or you have to get your stash from people coming?
In terms of Jamaican food, I only get what people send for me from time to time, which very scarce and very few and far between. But when a patty comes to brethren, why? You don't want to savor it for the whole month. You just take one little piece at a time and you savor the flavor.
So, folks, you know what Yannick wants. If you're headed to Cuba, you need to bring her some patties. So, no jerk chicken. You're not cooking any jerk chicken.
Cooking jerk chicken. All right. Well, first, I must confess that the cooking story is not really my forte. I cook when I have to. My mother-in-law actually does most of the cooking at home. But if I could really cook jerk chicken, I would give it a try. I would give it a try. But we don't have the sauce or pepper, at least what I thought was pepper, but no, it wasn't pepper. It's pepper cousin, I would say. Looks like
So,
pepper, but it's just not hot. So if it's not hot, it's not pepper. They should stop calling it pepper, right? But yeah, so that's a part of the drawback, I would say, in terms of eating. Apart from the fact that
Right.
I don't cook very well or very often. More of that I don't cook very often than that I don't cook very well. Grow Scotch bonnet pepper. Maybe that could be a solution. But the importation would probably be a problem. How would that go now? But yeah, really, some jerk chicken would really be handy right now.
So we have to bring you some patty, and we have to bring you some jerk chicken whenever folks can come over and visit. All right. So here's my
Oh,
next.
talking of jerk chicken and pepper, shrimps, swims. Saint Elizabeth swims, man. I could eat some of that too. Yeah, my mouth watering already thinking about that. The pepper burn it till it cry. But you could have said it's
Yes.
tears of joy and it clear up your sinuses.
Uh,
Oh dear. Thanks for the laugh.
so my next question is this one: what activities you love doing in Cuba?
Well, when I'm in Cuba, I like being with the family. I'm really a homebody, really. But pre-COVID era, I really love going to the beach. Yes, the beach. I love the beach.
So I don't want to
Yeah.
compare, but are the beaches as beautiful as Jamaican beaches?
Well, I think their most beautiful beach, at least the most beautiful one that I've been to here is Varadero. I hear that there are others that are just as beautiful or even more beautiful, but I think that our Jamaican beaches, Negril, and we can give them a run for their money. But for me, it doesn't even matter how pretty it look. I don't go to the beach for pretty looks. I just go in there to just go in the water and feel the waves and feel the sun and just swim or just float and just feel free and easy. Yeah, easy like Sunday morning. Yeah, I just really love the beach and just being out there on the water is therapeutic for me, actually. Yeah.
So my next question is this one: if someone was to visit Cuba, what would be that one thing you would tell them to go see or go do?
Well, suggestions in terms of what to do. Let's see now. If you're coming to Cuba, you should go to the historical center in Havana and get the full tour of all the plazas and all the squares. And anywhere you go and there's a lookout point, climb up and go look out. There are many beautiful nature views that you can enjoy if you're a nature lover. And even if you're not, you could actually just feel a jaw drop when you stand on one of those high bridges and look out over the valley, for example. Um, but I would also recommend that you see if you can get to link up with a Cuban family so you can actually hear some Cuban people's stories. Because just like in Jamaica, most time the tourists go to the resorts and they get the tourist version of the country. But if you really want to feel Cuba, a broader, truer sense of Cuba, talk to the people. That would be my recommendation. Talk to the people. Or if you're going to go and you do the tour, okay, but don't just do the tour with the taxi man or do the tour with the cart man, the man who riding the horse for you. But stop
Talk to
and
the
talk
people.
to him for a while too.
But yeah,
That's what I would recommend.
love doing that. Music.
In terms of
Music.
music, we do hear a wide variety of music, a lot of Cuban music, but there's also Jamaican music, reggaeton. You see, on television, people from China are singing, and from Korea, K-pop, and from all over the world, we hear music here. We see their music on television. Um, But yeah, I think predominantly also you'd hear some North American music, and there's actually an African slot on Cuban television where you hear
Oh
African
wow.
music. So
Oh
it's
wow.
a broad scope of music that's available that you can
Oh
choose
wow.
from.
Well, good. You land in Jamaica. What's that first thing you're doing or eating?
Okay, so just land now, step out with a suitcase and spot the car. Mommy and daddy coming around the bend. Yay! The waving can done, right? And big smile, of course. And then the hugs and the kisses. And then, it depending on how tired we are, we can buy some patty same time. Or maybe mommy would already buy the patty and have it put up at home for us when we reach. But yeah, the warm family greeting and the big smile and then the patty eating. Sometimes KFC too. And then later on, Devon House ice cream.
All
Oh
right.
yes, ice cream. I did mention ice cream, right? Yeah,
Yes,
right.
you did.
But just in case, yeah, Devon House ice cream.
So my last question is this one. How do you say goodbye in Cuban Spanish in the most informal way?
Dale, 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 dale.
All right.
That's really just
So,
like okay, okay.
uh-huh.
But like when people getting ready to hang up the phone, almost like, yeah, I hear you, hang up now. Dale, dale.
So Yannick, thanks again for sharing your story and how you got to Cuba and a little bit about the people and the culture.
All in all, I just like to say that it's great for me living in Cuba. It's a big change compared to being in Jamaica in terms of, what I'm used to in terms of food or in terms of general availability of basic items. But what I really love is the fact that people live in such solidarity. And even in the midst of scarcity, people are willing to share, not out of the extra that they have, but basically share what they have. And like even just the other day, my son needed some medicine, and it was through WhatsApp groups communicating. Oh yes, I know where you can find. I know somebody who has, and we were able to locate the medicine right that way. And at the same time, we were able to share some medicine that we had with somebody else who was in need. So I just like to say to anybody who's thinking of coming to Cuba to visit or to live, do your homework, read all you can, investigate, yeah, do your research, and then come prepared for the reality, you know, that may probably not have anything to do with what you found on paper or in the books or in the internet, but I think
Yes.
it's a great place to come and visit. And also, if you have the right connections, a great place to come and settle. If you're up for living a simple life, if you're up for living not simple in terms of you have nothing to do, but in terms of you don't have so much in terms of
Right.
material things that you
Mm,
really have to settle for the bare essentials and to really come back to the basics and see what's important, not just in terms of relationships, but also in terms of values and really cherishing the people around you, realizing that even in the midst of the worst conditions, scarcity or sickness or wherever you are, you can find angels, you know, who are willing to share and who are willing to really care from the heart. So, yeah, that's my word about Cuba. And
that-
one Cuban in particular has caught my heart. So here I am.
well,
Dale,
again,
dale, dale, dale.
thank you, Yannick. Dale, 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 dale. Show some love now. Hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell. That way you don't miss a video.